Okay, we'll give it another 30 seconds and then we'll get started. And while we're doing that, I'll welcome you to the Distinguished Safety Awards panel Tuesday, August 25th. We'll run from 8:15 to 9 a.m. We'll probably have about 30 to 35 minutes of discussion and then reserve about 10 minutes for questions, which you can submit by using the chat option in the Zoom meeting. Okay, my name is Derek Steele. I'm the Director of Health and Safety for Cheniere. I'll be moderating the session. Before we introduce the distinguished award recipients, it's worth reviewing that the DSA recognizes those refineries and petrochemical facilities that have sustained an exemplary level of performance in the domestic refining and petrochemical manufacturing industries. Members of the AFPM Health and Safety Committee serve as a selection committee whereby they review the safety performance, management, culture of these organizations using specific screening and selection criteria. That selection criteria covers relevant topics of a health and safety program, including leadership commitment, operational excellence, sustainability, innovation, collaboration, transparency, and best practices. So I want to congratulate 3 of the 6 winners. The previous 3 were, we had a panel yesterday afternoon that was virtual. You can see that. Today we're doing it live with our award recipients. And so congratulations to Phillips 66 Corporation, the Lake Charles Manufacturing Complex in Westlake, Louisiana. They're represented today by Ron Tower. He's the health and safety manager there. He's a CSP, holds a degree, a bachelor's degree in OC safety and health. He's been in the OC safety and health profession for over 34 years, last 9 of which have been at the Lake Charles Manufacturing Complex. Today, he's representing the employees and contractors for that facility. Together, they have received DSA recognition in 3 of the past 5 years. So Ron is throwing down the gauntlet right away to our other members, letting us know that he's won this award multiple times. Our second award winner today is Phillips 66 Corporation Ponca City Refinery in Ponca, Oklahoma. Benito Gonzalez is representing them today. He is a laboratory technician there. He is a USW Operations Safety and Health Steward and is represented member of the refinery's Joint Health and Safety Committee. In that role, he serves as a point of contact to employees for safety-related questions and concerns. In previous roles, Benito has been a refinery operator as well as a BBS program facilitator. He's also attended several joint health and safety and BBS conferences where he has promoted best practice sharing. And lastly, today we have Marathon Petroleum, the Robinson Refinery. They're represented by Heath Patel. He is a safety supervisor for Marathon Petroleum at the Robinson, Illinois Refinery. He's got over 18 years of experience in the industry. He's had experience in safety, process safety, emergency response, and has supported 3 Marathon refineries, as well as their logistics and storage organization over his career. So congratulations to all of you and your facilities for winning the reward. We'll jump right into it then. The conference started off with a really strong message on the importance of safety leadership by Robert Herman. Would like for each of you to maybe talk about how leadership influences your ability to achieve excellence in the health and safety space in your respective organizations. So Ron, how about we start with you?
First, I could never top Bob, but the leadership we have in our company, I mean, they are very instrumental in setting forth the expectations, the standards, required standards, our engineering practices, and support everything we do in safety. That was probably never noticed more than a year ago when they came to our aid after 2 major storms. So making safety a priority is something they do, and they do often. We never have to worry about where we're at.
And how does that support employee involvement, that strong message for leadership? I mean, you seem to indicate that flourishes at your facility. Can you speak to that at all?
Yes. The employee involvement, I mean, that's built on trust, and it's taken a lot of years to get there. The company has fostered that. Again, going back to last year, we were very unfortunate, and our employees own the safety processes here at the facility. They are very instrumental in the Joint Health and Safety Committee, which reviews all of our procedures. They have great input and a lot more insight than we would probably ever give them credit for, but they drive the process. Our CAPS process is our behavior-based safety, again, employee owned, and that serves, again, management supports that completely, especially during high workloads. We have observations that are conducted around the clock, and have some going on right now. And then lastly, our co-op came to being in 1994, and our co-op is supported by our management. That's our contractor group. And again, they own that process, they drive the process, and really steward all our contractor safety processes.
Excellent. Thank you, Ron. Let's jump over to Benito. Can you speak to how leadership supports your efforts there? And if possible, can you touch upon this notion of zero culture and maybe what happened in 2020 that was unique, and maybe how what led to that specific achievement?
Yes, sir. Like Ron was saying, the employees see what kind of safety role that they're supposed to play based on our executive leadership team. They'll come to Ponca City, they'll make their stops, Bob Herman, and they'll express what their view of safety should be in the whole company. And we take that down another step to our refinery leadership team, is they always come out with the goals and the expectations for the Ponca City refinery. What I like, one thing we do special here is every year our refinery leadership team comes up with a goal specifically for Ponca City. A lot of it pertains to everybody going home safe, process safety, environmental safety, just some stewardship things that we do here in Ponca City. And we put it up, we have it in all the control rooms, all the break rooms, poster boards, just kind of highlighting what our goals for that specific year is going to be. Of course, as you mentioned, we talk about zero, achieve for zero, strive for zero. When you tell someone the goal for safety or anything for that matter is zero, it seems like it's an unattainable goal, and sometimes it could be discouraging. But I think our leadership here at the Ponca City Refinery, they do a good job at just trying to let the employees know that if we kind of stick together, everybody do their part, we can do it. And in 2020, as you guys seen, it was the first year Ponca City actually went out an entire calendar year without a single reportable. So it was really cool. We celebrated that occasion, and our refinery manager, our RLT, our leadership team, they went above and beyond to let all the employees know, kind of like, see, I told you guys we could do this. And I think it's definitely eye-opening for the employees. It's like, hey, this is possible. So it's very encouraging, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Benito. I think what I also found very interesting about some of the information that was submitted was this, distilling some of the refinery goals into very simple messages. For example, no one gets hurt in our refinery today and nothing gets outside the pipes. It kind of, funnels a lot of, personal and process safety into very simple messages. How do you think that helps, the staff at the refinery receive and digest that information?
So when you say, you gave two good examples, no one gets hurt in our refinery today and everything stays inside the pipes. It's two specific goals. Both of them are pretty significant, But what we do here at the refinery is we use all sorts of different ways to get to those goals. So for like nobody gets hurt in our refinery today. Kind of like Ron mentioned, we have a very robust behavior-based safety process. The OKIs stands for Observations Keep Involved Employees Safe. We've been in the business of employee observations for 25 years. We look after each other. Our Contract Safety Alliance has adopted a similar observation process. They have Paul cards, which those are similar to behavioral based things that they're doing out in the plant, and they do observations on themselves as well. So that, along with other things like our monthly toolbox topics, supervisors having monthly meetings, specifically going over topics that our refinery has seen, or maybe something that the company is experiencing, you know, a rash of hand injuries, vehicle incidences, things like that. We'll talk, you know, kind of take a time out, stop and say, okay, people are getting hurt, that, you know, things are happening. What can we do in Ponca City specifically to keep that from happening? So it just makes everybody kind of be aware of that. Nothing gets out of the pipes. It's, you know, definitely process safety events are something we don't want to have. We talk to the operators. What do we do differently? As a corporation, we've rolled out several different programs and processes to try to keep that from happening. One of them being a walk the line process. You know, when it comes to taking equipment in and out of service operations, one of their biggest tasks and one of the most dangerous and vital parts of the whole equipment process is putting everything back in service. So we've incorporated a procedure and a process to have a redundant or a pressure test on the piece of equipment, or a redundant walk down, to make sure we capture any bleeders that may have been open during the course of the equipment preparation. And also on top of that is we've upgraded our bleeder identification procedures. So the operations know that it's a very robust procedure, that if you open a bleeder, you tag it. You not only do you tag it, you also put it down. You keep track of those open bleeders in a log sheet, so that operations, whenever the equipment is ready for them to put back in service, they can go back to their open bleeder log and be able to walk down exactly each bleeder that has been opened. And if something changes during the course of the equipment being out, you know, we have a series of events that the operations is supposed to be notified that, hey, I had to open this bleeder to have a high point, or we added this bleeder in the shop on new fab for piping. So we have a process so that the operators are made aware of that, so that everything does stay in the pipes. You know, we also kind of go over, you know, making first line break procedure, make sure we're breaking the right flange, you know, and all the protocols are followed so that everything does stay inside our pipes.
Great. Yeah, I was actually hoping we get a little bit more into detail around the sort of walk the line.
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to jump ahead.
Process.
My bad.
No, I think it's good. So I've got another question in the bag for you a little bit later, Benito. So thanks. So Heath, taking the sort of, you know, back to the Lord of leadership original question, how are they supporting your efforts? You know, I noticed you mentioned a vision of excellence. And also, you know, this support of your behavior-based safety system. Can you speak to how leadership in general supports your organization and maybe touch upon those two areas?
Sure thing. So yes, Marathon is always in all my facilities, especially Robinson. We've had great support from our leadership for safety, any kind of efforts we would want or needs. We have, you know, they vocalize that daily, all the time. Plant manager and our management team go out regularly to talk to the workforce, meet with them, and just, you know, ask if they've got any issues and try to be there for them and try to help gain alignment with our safety efforts. And they set very clear goals every year for us that are achievable. Again, just to make sure, really the big thing about it is to collaborate. I mean, it's about communication with our employees to make sure we have transparency with that among the whole workforce. We're in a rural town here, very small community. A lot of people here, just this is their whole families have worked here in the past. So it's very important that we have a good, strong safety culture, and our management team understands that. And we're very active in the community. So kind of rolling into the visions of excellence. This was rolled out a few years ago. It's 4 pillars that we strive for here at the refinery. It is a strong workforce, entrepreneurial mindset, community involvement, and competitive position. And all of our employees are are challenged to contribute to those things, to come up with ways we can improve the processes, and to let us know if there's some training or things they would need to help make them better, or if we need to focus on a certain area for them. And another big important thing I said is community. That we're very engaged with this community. We are a pillar of it. We support this community, and it's important for everyone around here and our families. So I think that really sends the message home about safety, is that everybody is so bought in because this is their home, and it's very important that we have this refinery running here. And you mentioned BBS.
Yeah.
So BBS, we do have, I'll say it's a world-class system here. We are actually platinum accredited through the Cambridge Institute. Sorry, I had a pop-up come up on my screen in the middle of this. So we've got, our leadership supports our Marathon employees going out and doing BBS observations. We did, I know in 19, we did 10,000 observations in the year. Last year, COVID hit us a little bit. We didn't have quite as many last year. We're trying to rebound that, although COVID is making it a little bit difficult again. They support us though through that. BBS is empowered. They're allowed to, when they find a project or issue that they come across or gets brought to them, they bring them to the management team, and we try to get in the budget and try to get things fixed, like working platforms or service areas, whatever they find. I mean, there's a myriad of things that they point out to us that we try to assist with regularly. And then also they actually give us a significant amount of money to put on a BBS conference here in the community. So we actually host not only our employees here, other companies in the area. We have some big companies that come through here, Toyota, the local hospitals here. There's a Hershey factory in town. We have about 400 people that attend this conference. We do it every other year. We bring in world-class speakers. We put on our own sessions on how to create from the ground up a BBS program, or also how to improve your program. So again, it's just, the outreach that they allow us to do, that our management team really shows that they have bought into the safety program.
Yeah, that's pretty unique that you've got this, world-class, accredited, platinum accredited program. And it's another great example of, maybe this industry innovating in a particular area, and then being able to share that, success outside of our industry. So, well done in that regard. I'll stick with you, Heath, for now, and maybe we sort of jump down into sort of mid-level management. And now that we've spoken about sort of leadership support, how are we, empowering and preparing, mid-level management, both our own supervisors and maybe contract supervisors to be leaders as well. You mentioned a leadership skills for extraordinary safety, and that kind of piqued my interest. So can you speak to that, Heath?
You're hitting a topic that's really dear to my heart. I was involved in this from the beginning. So several years back, we had a series of significant injuries, actually fatalities at Marathon back in the mid 2000s. And it caused us to get together and decide we need to do something different. How do we get our people to where this doesn't happen again? We said we want to empower them. We want to give them the skills to interact with each other, because safety can be difficult sometimes. Not everybody responds to the feedback you give them. So we developed an overall program called, first we started with safety skills for extraordinary leadership, or leadership skills for extraordinary safety, sorry. And this program is a 2-day course. We bring in all of our supervision, management, down, mid-level supervisor, and our contractor supervisors. And we come in and we talk for 2 days about the skills that it takes to make you a better safety leader, how to do good communications with your employees, how to be in the moment with them, talk about moment of choice, that we want to always make, when we have that gut feeling that something could be wrong, we support you to make the right decision. Let's do this safely. And really have them talk about what safety means to them. It's kind of it's different than any other training you've ever been to. It's a lot from the heart. It really hits home. You hear a lot of people say they use these skills to actually parent their kids or with their families. Like you use it outside of work. So I've been very proud that we've developed this program here. And then when it's all said and done, we have them all make commitments, and we follow up on those commitments over the course of a year to make sure that they are following through with what they want to do to improve safety in their area and improve themselves personally.
Great. All right, Heath. Benito, you guys train all your supervisors, each one of them in cause mapping. What was behind that approach, and how's it helped you out?
So with our cause mapping, we use the think reliability method. It's a really good way of you have an issue, a problem statement you start out with, and you continually ask why, what led to this, what are the causes, until you find the specific small cause that led up to the incident. So one of the important things is I know a lot of our frontline supervisors, our engineers are extremely instrumental in being trained in cause map. Myself and the rest of my joy health and safety stewards, we're trained in that as well, so that we can, from a USW, the union aspect of it, so we can participate in the majority of the investigations that take place. That way, you know, if we have to interview any of our peers and things like that, that they have a sense of confidence in there, and that, you know, we help them just come up with the solution to the problem. One thing cause mapping does is I notice every area when an incident happens, the area will get down specific, just their people, and they'll come up with a cause map to try to come up with the root cause for either, be it an environmental event, be it a safety issue. You know, of course, if it's a garners a big enough safety, like a horrible or something, we'll get like an official cause map team. We'll get people from outside the area. So you get an unbiased opinion. It's usually led by a member of the RLT+1 group. And what we'll do is we'll sit there, we'll investigate, we'll interview the employees, we'll dig up procedures, and, you know, just do our best to come up with the root cause. And then of course, we'll have a manager review at the end of it to discuss and to determine what steps we're going to have to do to keep that from happening again.
I can appreciate how in a represented environment, you know, that, you know, the sort of diverse nature of those teams is probably a requirement in one regard, but I do appreciate that supervisors having that skill set and having them involved in investigation, stewards ownership of the recommendations and the solution across the board. So so pretty cool there. So how about you, Ron? How are you addressing or enhancing your sort of mid-level supervision skill set?
Well, our supervisors first go through basically an orientation when they're first assigned. That gets all the different folks involved, safety, HR, because they're going into a new role, and there's a lot that they should know. Much like what Marathon is doing, we want to make sure that they can coach, they can mentor, and much like we see all over, you can use these skills outside. Once they finish that, we roll them into our leading division. That's a developed course. It's instructed by people from all over the company. Certified instructors are appointed by the company, and they come in and do those training sessions. And that's meant to really get down into how to solve problems. Because in safety, we realized that the solution is always there. We just got to get down to it. And then lastly, with the success factors, I mean, that really gets into more about what our vision is, how we're going to function as a team. To expand on that just a little bit, I mean, we also do supervisor training for our contractors. It's very key to us. And so far, we've developed 4 levels that started off with the basic. This is the procedures. And we graduated till we have an electronic work permitting. So we rolled that in, as well as lotto and the hands-on lotto training. And last year, we developed the next piece, which includes Shield Your Future, because we know there's a lot of institutional knowledge out there. And that's incorporated in all of our training for all of our folks that are coming in, and now even with our contractors, taking incidents where we've had something that's bad that's happened in time, expanding on that and letting them do their worksheets to figure out really what the solution was.
Excellent. Now that we've kind of got through the middle management, perhaps we extend the conversation to, you know, even frontline operations and operators and what we're doing to help them be successful. So Ron, we'll stick with you, and if you can speak to maybe some of the things that you're doing, either around enhancing operator knowledge as it relates to process safety, or helping them address, loss of primary containment, type of events?
So our lotto process is really geared on that. We have different procedures, much like Benito had talked about. That's one of our corporate initiatives that, again, the company gives us flexibility to look at ways that it fits us in the facility. So making sure that they understand doing hands-on lotto training is one of those, because most of your loss of containments occur as a result of a failure of some sort of lotto event, leaving a bleeder open. So we want to make sure that they understand that. We have double checks, okay? So if a person goes out, they opened up a system, they've lottoed it, we're ready to put it back in service. There's either a pressure test required or a double or a dual walkthrough to ensure that all the bleeders are closed. It might work a little bit different on turnaround. We've got a procedure to manage all of our bleeders. But that's kind of where we're focused on our loss of containment. From an overall operator knowledge, especially in the control rooms, the establishment of our EOLs, ROLs, SOLs. We've really done a good job with that to kind of relieve the stress from the operations group, because it can get a little bit stressful, and giving more on those critical alarms, those important alarms that you have, pre-alarms to those, to where they have an opportunity to respond. That really increases the knowledge that they have. And our Joint Health and Safety Committee, much like most people have USW, health and safety representative and PSM representative, those folks are so instrumental in making sure that we are that we're talking about the right things, because we get the feedback from them direct from operations, direct from maintenance, and we can address those concerns more rapidly and in a more effective way than we would if we tried to go out and get the information ourselves.
Yeah, right. I think it's like putting the right information in the right people's hands to make the right decisions. It's good to see that there's an effort really across the industry to do that. Heath, let's jump over to you. And I understand that your organization also has some experience with Walk the Line and some successes there.
Yes, we actually, so since we've implemented that, we've seen significant improvements in our product distribution units in the tank farm, a 75% reduction in walk the line incidents since 19 last year. So we have 4 incidents last year, and we've really, operations have really embraced that in that area to the point where we're looking at rolling it out across the refinery and other locations. Some of the things that we've done, well, we trained everyone on it, obviously. We look for potential lineup conflicts, and we have a lot of discussion on that and get their feedback. We've actually expanded out our lineup documents to make sure that we have a better look at the system as a whole. We do quarterly verification of the fundamentals by PDU leadership. They get together in front of the employees to help, again, just reinforce those skills that they've got to prevent these walk the line incidents.
Excellent. Okay. And can you also perhaps touch upon human and organizational performance initiatives, and maybe what you're doing in that space?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we decided to start looking more at human errors. And so we have adopted a human organizational performance. We call them leadership teams here at the refinery. It's kind of it started out hand in hand with our investigation process. And now it's, if we have a good idea from somebody, we can get a team together. We get together multidisciplinary teams, again, looking at human errors or how we can improve performance in an area. So for them, sometimes we might be setting up our employees for failure with how we have a job set up. And so we learned through an incident a few years ago with an electrical incident we had in Lotto that maybe we could do the process better to eliminate that concern. So we brought in a team made up of electricians, contractor electricians, safety department, some other maintenance SMEs and operations. And we talked through the entire process, and it takes about 2 days. The first day you just do brainstorming. You basically just sometimes a little venting, things that are issues for you in the field. And then we put those up on the wall, And then the next day we come in and say, okay, let's resolve them. What are we going to do to fix this? How can we adjust our workflows and processes to make things work better? And it's been very successful for us. We had another incident with bringing in chemical trucks, and security just wasn't set up for, maybe didn't have the tools to make sure that they were getting the trucks to the right location, that we didn't have any potential mix-ups with chemicals. Worked through that, and actually that rolled out across our other sister locations as well. We're actually up to 5 learning teams now in the last 2 years that we've been doing them. The employees are, I mean, they're proposing these ideas to us, and we make a list and we just go through and say, okay, what do we want to tackle next?
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for providing those examples, Heath. Let's jump over to Benito. I think you also mentioned, making information available to, operators, particularly process safety information. Can you speak to maybe how that's working and how it's benefited, your organization?
Sure, Derek. Recently, we've just upgraded our DCS consoles that what the operators use to operate the units out in the field. And one of the things we've done, and I think it's benefited, of course, like everybody, I think we're seeing turnover in the workforce. But some of the newer operators that are pretty computer savvy, what we've done is we've made that information directly available onto our DCSs. Things like ROL tables and vessel relief pressures. It kind of gives you an operator an understanding of what parameters they have to work with within their unit to keep from a process safety event. I remember when I was an operator at our FCC unit I worked the DCS board. And you're always, when you have an upset in your unit, you want to know how much time you got before things are starting to, hit the wire. And so you're always scrambling to look for those relief set points just to kind of gauge where we're at in this unit. And putting that up and having that information available on the DCS, I think is paramount to allow those operators to operate those units with a little bit more. They'll have a better knowledge of where they're at and how much time they've got before things start going haywire on them. And we talked about the ROL tables, SOL tables. We make those readily available. Of course, they're always on the network, but we keep them in our process technology packages. So when you're training on a unit, you're going to learn equipment. Everybody knows you're going to learn where your pump alignments, things like that. What does the tower do? What is the feedstock for this unit? But more importantly, we have a table of all the ROL set point or the ROL points, the SOL points, and lets an operator know that this tower cannot go above this. This is what this means, and this is how you get away from it. So we give that information to them before they actually are qualified and start out on the unit. And of course, like everything else, it's always there for reference. And if they have any questions, the engineers are always there to answer them. They always have their fellow operators or the production supervisors there to kind of guide them through navigating the SOL and ROL tables.
Excellent. Thanks, Benito. We're kind of running up here, about 12 minutes left. I want to try to squeeze in at least 1 or 2 more questions. So I'm going to ask you each maybe a very pointed question. Benito, you mentioned OKIs earlier, and I'm not going to try to remember what that acronym stands for. I do know it's your behavior-based safety program, but you mentioned that it's been active for 25 years. How do you keep that fresh and sustainable over that period of time?
Well, Derek, I'll try to keep it brief because I want these guys to be able to get their questions in. I'd hate to take away from them, but our behavior-based safety process has been awesome. 25 years running. It's solely employee-driven. That may sound kind of crazy, but you get buy-in from your frontline employees. Our refinery leadership team has granted us access to have one union represented employee that drives the process. That's the facilitator. You mentioned earlier that I did that for 2.5 years before I got into a health safety committee. They're supported by a steering team, which is a committee of their peers out in the refinery, various different crafts, various different areas, everybody with different ideas, different behaviors that they encounter in their jobs. When they get together, it's up to them. They keep the CBI, the critical behavior inventory is what we call it. They keep that updated. They go through all the impacts and see what is happening in our refinery. When we do an observation, are we covering all the bases to make sure these things don't happen again? So management 100% supports it. They allow the employees time to come out during turnaround opportunities when we have thousands of people in the plant. Our leadership team never hesitates to allow the observers to come out on their day off, or, we even have guys come out specifically to do observations. It's a little bit of, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but they never balk at supplying that because they know the value that it brings to have employees face-to-face engage in conversations with workers out in the field, our workers, contractor workers, anybody, so that we can identify behaviors and get rid of anything that would lead to somebody getting hurt in the plant. So employee buy-in for sure is one of the biggest key elements. And the steering team and the facilitator are always on a rotation basis. We're trying to bring new people in as we usher the older people out. So I think that's what helps sustain a process for that long.
Excellent. Thanks, Benito. Ron, you also mentioned a number of, forms and avenues such as, Joint Health and Safety Committee, your behavior-based safety program, et cetera, that is driven by employee involvement. Can you go ahead? Yeah. Can you speak to, but maybe what drives that? Sorry.
Okay, well, it's much like what Benito said. We celebrated 25 years last year. Bad year for us with COVID. Our numbers were down a little bit, roughly 6,000. But our CAPS group, they pay dividends over and over and over again. They are out here again, days off. We allow the opportunity for people to come out and participate in that process. And what we focused on in the last year or so is really getting and drilling down to what good observations are. Again, it's hard to keep it fresh for that many years, but the turnover that we do see with the facilitators has been great. We've actually asked to keep the current one on another year because of some big work in front of us, and they make it their own. That facilitator has allowed the opportunity to make the process their own. Then with the steering committee, they set the direction, they set the stage for where we're going to go with the observations, and over the past few years, we've been able to take and get that real time back within 24 hours, develop safety flashes to send out, communications to send out to the facility, incorporating audits for the supervisor within those safety flashes so they can better be able and equipped to address those issues in the field. And that's all based on the observations from CAPS. Our Joint Health and Safety Committee, I'll tell you what, I've been a part of others. This is the most engaged group. They drive every piece of the safety process, procedures, and you start looking at the procedure. A lot of times management gets hung up in the procedures and the policies. Our Joint Health and Safety Committee has the experience that they can break it down simple and allows us to be more effective in the implementation of new procedures, revisions to procedures. So that's great. That's our involvement. And to me, that's the key to the facility's success is those two groups.
Yeah, having that sort of integrated approach across, various stakeholders and groups just, highlights the ability to get buy-in where you need it. Okay. Heath, you alluded to your behavior-based safety program. Let's maybe stick with earlier. So let's stick with that theme and, talk about what's made your fuels program, so successful.
Yeah, so kind of like Benito and Ron, our BBS program has been around now since 1994 and has just continued to grow. Our employees, it is employee driven organization, pretty much autonomous as theirs is as well. We allow them the freedom to get engaged, make decisions. They report up to us and let us know if they need help, but they really do manage the program themselves. They communicate to the workforce on a weekly basis, any kind of trends they're seeing, and then also suggestions on how we can correct those things. We give them the time to do the observations. We encourage them, much like Ron and Benito said, during an outage, we have dedicated observers. We feel there's value in having them engaging with the employees and the contractors. And they're out there boots on the ground, and they really are having those good conversations. Because that's, you get data, and data is great. You love data, but the real value in BBS is the interpersonal connection you have, the face-to-face interactions. That's where you really drive it home. And so, these the ones that have volunteered are some of the best out here, and they really do help drive the safety program. They're, I consider them a pillar of safety at this facility.
Okay, thank you. And so we're got about 5 minutes left. If there are any questions, I would encourage people to post them in the chat box. I don't see anything at this point, so I'm going to sort of maybe lead into a wrap-up question here. Again, congratulations clearly on receiving the Distinguished Safety Award. It represents that each of you are achieving excellence in your respective companies and facilities. So you're kind of on the cutting edge, if you will, of safety excellence. So what, in your opinions, are the one or two things that we need to focus on next in our industry to sort of maintain this pursuit of excellence? Ron, why don't you take a shot at that?
Sure. I think that the trust building is the key foundation to everything that we're doing. The trust breeds the engagement breeds the performance. And, you have to have that trust, and it's a risk at times, but there's a lot of reward by that trust, because once you trust your employees that are out there that are truly the beneficiaries of the safety processes that we have, once you trust them, they trust you, it really works well. It works in the observations and the performance, and it helps us in our safe work authority, our stop work authority. When people trust that you truly mean what you say, they're going to be there, and that's fundamental to where we need to continue to move.
Okay, thanks, Ron. How about you, Benita? What your ideas on the one or two things that we need to do next?
Well, I totally agree with Ron. It's always, especially from a union aspect, it's been about trust between the employees and the supervisors. One thing I do notice, and with our ever-changing culture, ever-changing environment out in the refineries, is that I think it's important for everybody, whether it's top-level supervisors, frontline supervisors, and employees, but for people not to get stuck on one thing. Procedures alone aren't going to save, keep you safe. Observations, as good as I love them, and I think they're great, they're not the sole arbiter of safety out in the plant. I think it's important that we don't get stuck on one effort. If something doesn't work, don't throw it out. As the saying goes, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Find out what didn't work, communicate with the groups, but also use all the other efforts that you promote to help, back up what new initiatives that you're rolling out. So I think it's important, as you're seeing as the data points to things coming arise, vehicle incidences, hand safety, things like that. It's good, like Ron had mentioned earlier, it's good to come up with these new policies, new procedures, but I think it's important that we come at it as a total collaboration of efforts of what does work and what is currently working. So, of course, that being said, we go back to trust. We have to communicate. We have to be open about the processes that we have and just work together as a team. And I think safety is definitely attainable. Like our deal said, 0 is attainable. So I think that's what I would recommend.
Okay, thanks, Benita. And I guess to wrap it up, we'll give Heath let's get your opinion on those one or two things.
Well, Ron and Benito were all thinking about the same thing, so I'm going to adjust mine a little bit. But I definitely think trust and culture are two of the biggest things we can do and just keep promoting. You want the buy-in. And with that, where I'm going to go is with empowerment, to make sure our employees feel like they are empowered to make decisions, to help move the culture, move the needle forward. We want them involved and engaged. That's like we were talking about the human performance thing we're doing here. We want their involvement. If this is not working, let's get their input. Let's sit down and hash it out. Procedures are procedures. Maybe we need to fix them. Maybe there's something we can do different. We want the trust from them, as they alluded to know that we'll take that input and then we'll do something with it. So, if we can do that, absolutely, target 0 is obtainable.
fascinating. The time has gone by, so quickly. There's probably a much more things I wish I could talk to you about. That's a good reason to sort of network at the conference and reach out to folks if you need more information. I want to thank Ron, Benito, and Heath for their sharing information today. I really appreciate that. And I think you guys summed it up quite nicely, around a parting message of trust, integrated approach, and, collaboration, going forward. So appreciate your guys' time this morning. Appreciate the participants for sitting in. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and the next sessions are scheduled to begin at about 9:30. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.